And finally tonight, we finish our conversation with Professor Victor Davis Hanson, Senior Fellow at Hoover Institution, his list of 10 steps to save America. Although we're going to get through your 10th, and I'm going to throw one more at you that I thought should have been on the list, if it's okay, Professor. Your final one is restore norms. I was told electing Joe Biden would restore the norms, Professor.
That's what we were told. We were told he was going to unite us and we're all going to be happy together and forget our differences. It didn't quite happen. But I mean, if we're going to have a multiracial, multicultural society, and we have now 50 million people that were not born in the United States at various statuses, that's an all-time percentage and absolute number high, then you have to have some commonality of shared civic education and ceremony, traditions. So I think we've really got to go back to the K through 12 and say this is what D-Day was. This is what the Battle of Gettysburg was. This is the difference between the House and the Senate. Just the basics of constitutional American history to unite people, because the amount of ignorance among the population is epidemic and there's no common ties. So nobody knows what Thanksgiving was about, or when they don't know that, then they invent things, or they're susceptible to people who do invent things. 1619, supposedly, the foundation of date was completely ludicrous. But so we need a civic education, we need ceremony, we need more tradition. And then there's been a war in the nuclear family, but everybody understands that all the data, and they like to quote data, show that a two-parent household is much preferable to any alternative as far as children becoming educated, law-abiding, happy, and economically viable.
Yeah.
But yet we have all these other lifestyles which we used to say we're going to tolerate, and that was good because we weren't going to discriminate against people who chose not to participate in the nuclear family for whatever reason. But now we've said they're not only alternate, but they're superior to the breeders who are overpopulating the planet. Even as our fertility went from 2, I think it's down to 1.68. We're not replacing Americans, even with immigration.
Yeah, it's funny. Redefining marriage seems to have had a direct effect on traditional marriage and reproduction in this country.
I think it has.
Victor Davis Hanson. All right, here's my with all due respect, Professor.
Okay.
I see all 10 of these things, and every time I imagine a president or a Congress trying to implement these reforms, they are met with a wall of fury from our establishment media, from pop culture, the screaming of fascism and renting of clothing from people on cable news. How do you fix all of this without fundamentally fixing the media?
Well, that's a hard problem because while the left doesn't have 51% of popular opinion, I think we're a center-right country still. It has captured all the institutions, corporate boardroom. If you saw that with Disney, and look at professional sports and not standing for the flag, Hollywood, K through 12. I don't need to mention the universities, social media, Silicon Valley, Washington Post, New York Times. NPR.
With all of that on board for the left, it's a wonder Republicans even come close in an election, let alone win elections.
I think they do. That's why I'm not too critical as I should be, but they have all the institutions. And so I think that the conservatives have to they have to look at academic life, and they have to say, the colleges think they're too good for us, or they're just a bunch of crazy people, hothouse plants, so to speak. But they teach the schools of education, and they teach in the schools of education. They teach our teachers. An idea like critical race theory that grew in an obscure faculty lounge discussion. Everything that is bad about this country comes out of the university, and so they need to really start looking at alternatives to the liberal universities, whether that's new universities or not giving money to universities if you're an alumnus unless there's stringent ties, or promoting schools like Hillsdale College. Whatever the answer is, you've got to do something, or it's going to be very hard, very difficult to save America. And they need to look at the media. And I think one of the things they can do is look at the monopolies in Silicon Valley. And they do use the public space. This cyber air is not owned by Silicon Valley. It's our air, and it's our cyberspace. And so when Facebook gobbles up 200 companies to destroy competition, there's antitrust laws on the books that would prevent that. I think in some ways they're public utilities.
Sadly, we have to leave it there. But what a great conversation. And I stay hopeful because Victor Davis Hanson, one of our brightest minds, he didn't write an article about the 10 things that are wrong with America. He said 10 ways to save America, and only an optimist would do that. That's it for tonight. We'll see you next time.